Hello, this is Jesse from WDBM-FM, The Impact. We are here at South by Southwest with Priest. You got a new record coming out. What can you tell me about the title, The Seduction of Kansas?
It's the title track of the record and our first single, which you should check out right now. It is inspired by a book from the early 2000s called What's the Matter with Kansas by Tom Frank. That's where a lot of the lyrics come from.
I see when Priest gets talked about in the media, the term post-punk comes up about that. But when I listen to the music, it's a lot more than just that genre tag. What can you tell me about kind of avoiding or subverting the post-punk like pigeonhole?
At the end of the day, we're mostly just a rock and roll band. Well, we're not just a rock and roll band. You know, it's not only rock and roll. But like, you know, we listen to all kinds of music, and like labeling things as punk is kind of like a marketing tool at this point.
You guys have such a stage presence after catching you guys 3 times. It's it's bold, it's daring. It really translates well with the music itself. What can you tell me about providing a good stage presence?
I think you have to allow people to express themselves in their own way. One of the things that's wonderful about this band is that everyone has such a strong and dynamic personality, and that just manifests no matter what. You can't really control for that, and I think we are very accepting of each other's quirks and allow each other to be who we are on stage, and I think you can see that level of comfort when we interact.
I also wanted to cover drumming and singing at the same time. What can you tell me about that? What was the process behind becoming like where you're at with it?
I just love Phil Collins. No, I think it's just like so much of this band. It's just came out of necessity, you know, which is just there's not a lot of people that play drums, you know. I feel like, and singing is one of those things that's super idiosyncratic. I think like everyone sings their very own way, and so if you have like a melodic or lyrical idea, and then for me, it was like, well, you have to drum while doing it. Although I will say that this album subverts that in 2 ways. The album coming out April 5th. A lot of the backups I sing live are actually Katie backing herself up on the record, which is interesting. And then the other thing is, actually, similarly to Nothing Feels Natural, there's one track that's all digital drums.
I actually was just about to ask a question about the difference between the writing on this and the writing on Nothing Feels Natural, because we hear a much different kind of idiosyncrasy with the band, I think, compared to the Nothing Feels Natural sound. Can you tell us what was different in the development of this one versus the last record?
Everything about this record was in some ways by design a totally different process for writing than the last one. We didn't want to make Nothing Feels Natural Part 2. So we approach things in a really different way. We also, by virtue of necessity, to go back to that, just had to write differently because our former bassist, Taylor Mulitz, had to leave to commit to another band that he was doing full time, which was totally amicable. Taylor, GL, Daniele and I still run Sister Polygon Records together, which is the label putting out our record, which comes out April 5th. And Taylor actually designed the album art for The Seduction of Kansas, so it was really cool to still have him involved in that way. But to go back to your original question, we designed Priests in a way so that most of our songs in the past have been written in the moment together in a practice space. Like everyone's kind of contributing their own thing. There isn't necessarily one leader. And we really just had to approach songwriting in a much different way for this record. Like people kind of bringing in some ideas that maybe they had fleshed out on their own. Sometimes, you know, working in Logic or some other kind of like digital songwriting interface. We also worked with a friend of ours, a multi-instrumentalist from DC, Janelle Lapine, a lot for finishing some of these songs. We had her play bass on this record, and then we brought in Alex, who wrote the bass line for the title track, The Seduction of Kansas. So many things were different with writing this record, probably more than we even have time to talk about right now, but that's a brief introduction.
Yes, awesome. This is Jesse Taconelli from WDBM-FM, The Impact, signing out.